mention that in Africa, schools are allowed to beat, like literally get a stick and beat you however much they want. You're not even allowed to make a phone call. If you want to call home, you tell the head teacher, and that means you have to press the head teacher to make the call for you. Actually, all the girls would have their hair cut short. This was really prison beating. Apparently, they beat him so much all over his body that he ended up dying. Looking back at it now, I realize things either give your hand to be beaten, or they just beat all monitors, bell ringers. Basically, this person woke up very early, earlier than all of us, to ring the bell for us to wake up. So I remember there was this one time. Hi guys, welcome to today's super relaxing and attentive scalp and hair massage. I hope you enjoy this session, and do not forget to like and subscribe. Also, click the notification button so that you can always be notified when I post an amazing video like this one. Okay, let's begin. Okay, there's like a stubborn thread here that doesn't want to come off. Crazy. In today's session, I'm gonna be telling you guys a few stories from my high school boarding times. I literally had the craziest, most insane times in high school. So I remember there was this one time that my best friend and I have to say, because I don't want to confuse you guys, if any one of you is from my other channel, like knows my other channel with my husband, the asthma couple, you already know the back story of this. Like, you already know some of the things of this, some parts of the story. I wanted to talk about one time that my best friend and I, tried to dodge preps. Those of you who already know what preps is, I'm not gonna repeat. If any of you doesn't know what that is by now, you probably need to go and watch some of the videos, the couple channel, and some videos on here. I've spoken about that. Anyway, yeah, it was during preps, and my best friend and I, just one of those times that we were just, not up there where the teachers used to hang clothes, but we were in the dormitory. As I said earlier in the other videos, we used to sleep in a dormitory, all of us, girls separated from boys. And in the dormitory, we used to hide because we never wanted to attend confess to the head teacher that we had dodged preps, and that week actually there were the prefects. Prefects are the students who are in charge over the students. Basically, a prefect is someone who was like given authority by the school board, selected by sometimes the head teacher or the school board, and sometimes selected by the students to be in charge of certain things in the school. Basically, let's say that we had a head girl and a head boy, and we had assistant head girl and assistant head boy, and we had a kind of a dorm prefect, preps prefect, hall monitors, bell ringers. Basically, this person woke up very early, earlier than all of us, to ring the bell for us to wake up. Yeah, crazy, I know. Actually, at one point in my middle senior year, Form 3, if you've been following my stories, you know what that middle means. Yeah, so anyway, I was the daytime bell ringer selected by the students. Anyway, yeah, so this one prefect, I remember her name was Babidi Rita. Babidi Rita. She reported us and a bunch of other students who had dodged preps the whole week. We didn't even know. Then during parade, I don't know if I've mentioned parade before, but parade are usually like meetings. We would gather all forms, junior or senior or middle senior, and we would gather all in one hall or in one place that was usually in front of all the classes, and someone would be read, and teachers would also gather in front of us. Like there would be a bunch of stairs, we would be down, and the teachers would be like basically on top of us. If that doesn't sound so wrong, would be like on top of the stairs, and we would be under the stairs, basically like 50 stairs, just like a lot of stairs. So anyway, I would stand there, and the teacher would come, speak first, the assistant head teacher, then the teacher on duty that week, and then the head girl or the head boy if they had something to say, and then any other teacher with something to add in about, like, let's say if one teacher notices a behavior that's going on in school, they would come during the time for parade and talk about it and be like, oh, and this behavior I see these days, it has to stop. Stop coming to class dressed like this, something like that. As I said, in our school, this is in Africa, you're not allowed to smoke, wear makeup. Actually, all the girls would have their hair cut short. This was really prison. Like, these schools, boarding schools in Africa, prepare you for prison, I tell you. God forbid. I never want to end up in prison, but if anyone from an African boarding school has ever been to prison, it's basically a familiar surrounding, because bells wake you up, bells tell you time to sleep when it's lights out, bells tell you when it's time to change the lesson, bells tell you when it's lunch, and when the lunch is done, bells tell you when it's time for preps, and the preps are done, bells tell you if there's an emergency in school, the bell rings, bell tells you if there's an emergency parade. For example, if the headmaster wants to say something, he rings the bell and everybody knows, okay, it's not time for a new lesson, it's not time for preps, it's not time for lunch, it has to be an emergency. So yeah, bells would let you know where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. So back to the story of Babidi Rita. During parade, she reports Chris and I and a bunch of other students who had dodged preps. And did I mention that schools in Africa schools are allowed to beat, like literally So anyway, because it was really, at that age, every small thing embarrasses you, because you already have like your own crushes, and you already don't want to be embarrassed in front of your friends. You have a reputation to keep up. So anyway, Chris and I suddenly there, because she was like the kind of a dorm prefect, Bobby the Rita. She goes in front all of a sudden, and that's on Friday, or was it a Monday? I guess it was and she starts saying, "Mr. Headmaster, I have a list from the girls' dorm that I want to report some people who are notorious for dodging preps, and I just wanted to call them here. And when your name is read, it's inevitable. You're gonna get a beating in front of the whole school. Basically, you will lie down and get like 10 to 15 beatings, sometimes 6 to 10. Sometimes if the teacher is in a good mood, you get like 2 to 4. Some female teachers will just beat us, like give us 3 beatings. You either give your hand to be beaten, or they just beat you on your back. You lay down flat on the ground and they beat you. And that's usually mainly if you've done something so wrong, if you've escaped school or something like that. They would call a parade just to witness your flogging. So anyway, this girl, she reads our names. First of all, when we saw her going up the stairs, we started panicking, Christine and I, and some other girls that had dodged preps, because we knew that can only mean one thing. And she had a paper folded behind her as she was climbing the stairs. And we started panicking, and when you start panicking, your heart tells you that something is gonna go terribly wrong. So she gets up there and she says, "I have something to say. These people are notorious for dodging preps, and I want to read out their names so that they can get a beating." She starts with some 2 girls, and then she reads my name, and I know the next person is Chris. She reads Christian's name, and she reads some other like 5 girls' names, and the headmaster says, "Come up here." And he was such a mean guy, like such a rude, mean guy, that head teacher. And then he said, "Go to my office." He tells somebody, "Go to my office and bring a stick, the biggest one," because teachers, as I said, they were allowed to keep sticks for beating students. So these 2 people, whoever went to get the stick, got the stick and came back. And we were flogged in front of the whole school. I literally just wanted to go second after the first person was beaten. But looking back now, I realize I should have been going last. But I wanted to go second because it was like 8 girls. And after the first girl was beaten on the hand, like 6, I went second. And Christine came after me. My best friend Christine came after me because, you just want the embarrassment to end. Students are looking at you and they're waiting to see your reaction as you're being beaten. It's really crazy. It's nuts. Looking back at it now, I realize, first of all, there's so many things wrong with that kind of beating, so yeah, it's also crazy that when I think about it now that they are boarding schools for kindergarten kids. As I said, basically some people would drop their kids off when the kids are like 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 10. You just drop your kid at school and that's it. You don't know if they are sleeping well, they are eating well, they're okay. So I just remembered, if you guys follow my stories, you know that most of them are just spaced out. I start this story and I go to the other story and I go to the other story. I just remember I was telling this story of I read online that in this Nigerian was beaten, like bite with teeth, by his fellows, I guess, classmates or other boys in the dorm. And apparently these are like 9, 10, 11, I guess up to 13-year-old kids, because primary school we graduate at 12, 13, so that you can go to high school. And these are 10, 11 year, 12-year-old kids that beat him. Apparently they beat him so much all over his body that he ended up dying. That's the craziest thing I read. Oh my god, I was shocked that now it wasn't the first time. You know, honestly, I don't really know what parents or just adults think really happen in boarding schools, because some of the things that happened to Chris and I was so wrong. I mean, we were not touched inappropriately, or nothing really inappropriate happened to us, but in most cases it did happen. Like some teachers did have relationships with very young girls, like really young girl. And I don't really know what parents tell themselves happened to us in school. But anyway, in this case of that boy, I guess his parents demanded to know what was wrong, because I guess if I remember correctly, they saw him with bites and they asked him, "What's happening? Why do you have bites?" And I guess he told his parents, "Please do not say anything, it's gonna get worse." I guess, if I remember correctly, I'm not quite sure, but when I read the story, I guess this is how I remember, that he said, "Please do not say anything, do not go to, raise hell at school, because if I'm supposed to stay there, it's gonna get worse." The way kids bully each other. "Oh, you ran to your mommy, now you're left here with us for months, Anyway, and sometimes, if you want to report something, the teachers can refuse to, because there's literally no phones, no communication. You don't have phones in boarding schools. It's not advanced and nice boarding schools like the ones you see in Europe or America. Here you're not even allowed to make a phone call. If you want to call home, you tell the head teacher, and that means you have to press the head teacher to make the call for you. So I don't really know if this applies right now, but in the boarding schools during my time when I was in high school, which was not really that long time ago, but in a span of 5-6 years, things change. You wouldn't be able to be allowed to just call however you want your family. And sometimes the teacher would be like, It's so crazy, It's so crazy. So yeah, I wouldn't take my kid to boarding school in Africa unless it's the very best boarding schools, because we have some boarding schools that teach British curriculum, and those are really good but very, very expensive. They pay thousands of dollars of euros every semester, and they follow the British curriculum, which is IGCE, and the students there really are like rich people's children, and they have the best quality education. They have horse racing, they have swimming, they have different food choices, options, and they have like a whole hospital on campus, and those are just like luxuries in my type of school that I went to. We couldn't even ever think of that. That would never be my type of school, get such treatment. Tell you guys that in Africa, at least because the boarding school I went to was in Uganda. In Uganda, the boarding schools give, as I said earlier in my other videos, you get one food option Monday to Saturday, and then on Sunday you may get some rice. Yeah, it's rice and beans cooked together. The food wasn't horrid, but sometimes it would be really not well cooked because probably the school chef started the food late. Anyway, they would cook in Uganda, all over Uganda, boarding schools, the poor boarding schools. I'll call them poor, middle class. They cook posho and beans, and they're not fried. Yeah, I remember, if they're fried, you wouldn't taste any onions or oil. So anyway, you eat posho, which is really maize flour mixed with hot water. Maize flour mixed with hot water and stirred until it becomes like dough, and it's really hot. And then you eat it with boiled beans, which are really not fried, and you eat that, and that's your lunch and dinner. And then, as I said, on Sunday you might get some rice. Sometimes we'd get rice, 3 times in a month would get rice, and 1 time maybe not. So anyway, yeah, but here in the amazing boarding schools, there's actually a buffet laid out for you, breakfast, lunch and dinner. That was a dream for us growing up, like a dream. So anyway, yeah, that's just a sneak peek into my crazy high school life. And yeah, I'll be telling you guys some of my crazy high school stories on this channel, mostly because I feel like when I tell these stories on my The Couple channel,